Welcome to Our Opinion. I'm host Bill Greiner. Normally I'm joined in studio with a co-host, but given the travel schedule that he had and the tight schedule that we have to do for BCTV in order to get this show taped, edited, and online, it wasn't possible to wait for my co-host, so I'm going to do the show solo. This show is going to deal with the upcoming elections, 2014 town council elections, school board elections, budgets. And I want to start off by saying that a lot of the times when I'm doing my show, we do some tongue-in-cheek. We're serious in terms of the themes and what we're talking about, and certainly the different issues that we bring up, but we try to bring a little bit of light to the shows to engage the folks out there and have some fun. This is going to be a little bit different. Aside from the fact that it's just myself, I think that the issues that are in front of Bedford that may not be apparent to everybody at this point, and that's a big reason for doing the show right now, is that I don't think that there's a lot of light to bring to this in terms of levity. This is, and fun. This is serious, and I think that by the end of the show, folks are going to have a little bit better understanding of what I'm talking about and why. This is a little bit different take on it in terms of being very straightforward, very open, and not lighthearted. This year, there are some candidates running for school board and town council that have only recently moved to Bedford. And while on the surface that may not be that big of a deal, we all came to Bedford at some point in time. When you dig a little bit deeper, it starts to create more questions, and then you need to dig a little bit deeper to find some of the answers. So there are a couple of folks that are running, one on the school board specifically, one on the town council, who have recently moved to town, and they are part of a larger organization called the Free State Project. And for those who are not familiar with the Free State Project is a group, an organization that was formed several years ago with the intent of trying to colonize or infiltrate a state where it could have many, many thousands of people move to that state over a period of time and essentially infiltrate it and take it over in terms of the various government levels, whether it's local and municipal, state, to have an impact and really radicalize the way that the governments in that state and those municipalities would work. Several years ago, there was a vote taken by this organization, and New Hampshire, because of some of its live free or die policies, was chosen as the state that would be the colonization point for these folks. And over the past few years, a few people have started to move to New Hampshire with that intent, to come to New Hampshire, assimilate in the community, and then start to seek public office in an effort to radically change the way government is. And what I mean by radically change, the Free Staters, by and large, do not embrace government. They don't embrace authoritative control. And frankly, what they would like to do is see things dismantled, and really a government would not be anything that would interfere with what they want to do. So in a way, it would be a sense of lawlessness, anarchism, call it what you will. Many of them don't believe in the Constitution. They don't believe powers come from the Constitution, and therefore they don't respect the Constitution. So what does that mean here in Bedford? Well, let's talk about the town council side. This year, we have 4 town council candidates are running. One of them, Chris Bandazian, is the chair. He is up for re-election. On the ballot as well is a guy named Jim Aguiar. Jim has lived in Bedford since 2002. In terms of owning a home, prior to that, he was away at college and had grown up in Bedford before going away to college. Another gentleman, David Coles, who signed up but has declined to be interviewed, declined to respond to any emails. So he signed up. Nobody knows anything about him, and one only has to wonder why you would sign up for public office but not show up for a debate, give a reason for not showing up for a debate, or frankly engage the residents of Bedford whom you're asking to vote for you. The 4th candidate is a fellow named Matt Phillips, and Matt is one of these Free State people that I mentioned earlier. Matt has lived in Bedford a very short period of time. He, in fact, attended a Free State festival sometime in late summer and had stated his intent to move to New Hampshire from New York. He's a self-described entrepreneur from New York and made the statement in August that he was going to relocate to Bedford. In fact, in his, it's quoted so that he's plotting his move to the Free State later this year. That was at a speech that was given in August here in New Hampshire, and in fact he has subsequently moved here to New Hampshire. So he's fulfilling his mission, if you will, to come to New Hampshire, colonize, and then decide to embed himself and run for political office. So here's a guy that's lived in town for a couple of months, registers to vote, and now decides he wants to run for town council, knowing very little about the town, very little about how government works here in the town, but he knows very well what he would like to do as a Free State person, and that is to really have no government, or very, very marginal government at best. What's interesting about Matt Phillips is he's not a homeowner here in town. He lives in a home that is owned by Aaron Day. Aaron Day is running for school board, and not surprisingly, Aaron Day has not been in Bedford very long. In fact, he moved here in October of 2012, so he has been in town a little over a year, and he's told folks he's lived here for 4.5, 5 years. In fact, that's not the case. He lives in town, and again, one of his roommates is Matt Phillips. So I think it's important to understand the dynamic here, that you've got some folks that have their own agenda. It's an agenda that is bigger than Bedford. It's frankly bigger than New Hampshire, and their agenda is to come here and radically transform government. Again, on the council side, you have one Free State candidate, and what I've done, and I'm going to put up on the screen, is put together the official town ballot, and it shows the candidates that are running for town council, library trustee, trustee of the trust funds, town clerk, town moderator, and supervisor of the checklist. And what I'm going to do is just simply show you how I intend to vote this year. On the town council side, I certainly intend to vote for Jim Aguiar. As I mentioned, he's lived in Bedford for many, many years and been a homeowner for the last 12 years. And I'm going to vote to re-elect Chris Bandazian, who has served 7 years on the town council and is currently the town council chair, and certainly is not a newcomer to town either. Library trustee, I am not going to make a recommendation at this time between Tony Frederick and Bill DeShotko. Trustee of the trust funds, Rick Bullock signed up to run, immediately withdrew, but unfortunately his name was left on the ballot. He had his own reasons for wanting to withdraw. I am suggesting writing in Michael Scanlon for that position. Somebody has to serve in that position, and hopefully Michael would serve in that position if elected to that or written in. Town clerk, there's Courtney Ogden, Diane O'Neill, and Lori Radke, and I've known Lori Radke and served on town council with Lori for a number of years, and certainly support re-electing Lori Radke to town clerk. Town moderator, there's Barbara Shagnon and Brian Shaughnessy. I've known Brian Shaughnessy for a long time. Brian is a current town moderator, has done a great job, and I would certainly recommend re-electing Brian Shaughnessy. And then lastly, supervisor of the checklist, Joan McMahon. She's running unopposed. So again, getting back to the council side, I think it's important for people to do their own research and do their own homework. You can go online, you can Google Free State Project. I'm going to put up on the camera in a few moments a description by Free Staters themselves of what the Free State Project is. And just to read from it, an excerpt of it, it says their philosophy is that a government exists at most to protect people's rights, and should neither provide for people, so give them no services, nor punish them for activities that interfere with no one else. So basically, some lawlessness or lack of law, lack of police, any type of jurisdiction. Again, if you're not one that believes in the Constitution, you're more of an anarchist or an atheist, whatever it might be, that's where some of these folks come from, and I would encourage you to go online. You can Google Matt Phillips, you can Google the Free State Project, and I think you'll be as concerned as I am in terms of why it is that he decided to move here a couple of months ago, lives with a couple of other folks in a home, and decided that he knows enough about Bedford that he wants to run and make a change, although in his debate he really didn't have any ideas as to things he might want to change. And I think that has to do with kind of wanting to slip into town, really unseen and be unthreatening and tell people what they want to hear, that you like a smaller government, you like to to control spending? Frankly, we all do. But he doesn't really want to talk about what he's for, and I think that the reason why is I think if he did, he would really concern folks, and folks do have a reason to be concerned. Moving to the school board side, there are 4 candidates running for school board. There is Bill Councilor, Aaron Day, Jen DeAngelis, and Bill Foote. And I'm going to put a copy of the school ballot up as well and show you who I'm going to be supporting in this year's school elections. I will be supporting Bill Councilor, who's a physician, lives here in Bedford, has lived here for a number of years, and has kids in the school district. And I'm also going to recommend voting for Bill Foote. Bill Foote has been on the school board for the last 3 years. Bill's been a very long-time resident, almost 20 years in town, very active in different boards and organizations, and again is longtime Bedford resident and really has the interest of Bedford and the residents at heart. Frankly, I don't know very much about Jen DeAngelis, and as far as Aaron Day goes, Aaron is, like Matt Phillips, one of the Free State folks that has chosen to move to town. Aaron is more of a visible person in the Free State movement, more so than Matt. Aaron has lived in town, as I mentioned, since the fall of 2012, so a little over a year. And in addition to being a Free State member, he is actually a trustee or a board member, if you will, of the movement here. He's very active. He has been at many events trying to make a name for himself, give himself some more visibility, more credibility, and has positioned himself as a fiscal conservative, somebody that wants to watch out for the tax dollars and cut spending. And I certainly think that he believes in that, but I think what he believes in that he's not talking about, again, has to do with this attempt to colonize here. And I think it would be better if he would be more upfront and explain exactly what it is that he's trying to do. And that is, he moved here not long ago with the intent to fit into the community and come up, use his position to try to run for school board if elected, use that position to further his career in politics in New Hampshire and allow him to, again, try to radically change the way the Bedford School District operates and the town of Bedford, and take that, if he's successful, and multiply that into other things he's looking at in the state. He announced yesterday that he is intending a year from now to run for the chair of the New Hampshire GOP. Again, a guy that hasn't been here very long, that in itself is not a big deal, but he's not running, from what I can see, on anything that is something other than the bigger goal here, to transform New Hampshire into a free state society. They've taken an oath to that. They're trying to actively recruit people. Their goal is to recruit 20,000 people to move to the state to do that, to colonize here, to use their words, and he is one of those, and he is one of the leaders. And I think if he were elected to the school board, it would be a devastating blow to the community of Bedford, and it would be a devastating blow to our school district, which has done very well in and of itself. We can debate whether the school budgets are proper or not. We can debate whether we like the curriculum. But I think when we do that, we do that from a position that what's best for the community, what's best for us as taxpayers. There isn't an outside and overriding agenda that comes with it. Mr. Day brings that to the table quite frankly. He has an outside agenda which is really incongruent with what the folks here in Bedford have experienced and what we hope to have in terms of our quality of life and our government institutions going forward. A little bit more on Mr. Day. Mr. Day is a homeowner in Bedford. As I said, he's been here about a year and a half. He owns a home on Riddle Drive, and that is public record. You can find that in Vision Appraisal. It's very easy to see that. Everybody's that's a homeowner has their home address and their name on Vision Appraisal. So he's a homeowner. He has 2 roommates that live with him. One, as I mentioned before, is Matt Phillips, who, again, is his roommate running for town council. And the other is another gentleman who is not running for public office, but he did show up at the deliberative session, gave his street address as the same as Mr. Day's, and spoke at the deliberative session. What does that have to do with anything? Well, in Bedford, and I'm going to put this up on the screen in a moment, we have a rooming house ordinance that was put into place over 10 years ago. It's Article 275-6, and I'll read it to you as it's very brief. It says, any dwelling unit which is occupied by more than 2 adult persons, not related by blood or marriage, and which provides a sleeping accommodations on either a transient or permanent basis, with or without meals, but without separate cooking facilities, the definition shall not apply to group quarters for special needs groups. That is an ordinance which makes it not proper, not legal, whatever you want to call it, to have more than 2 unrelated people living in the same home. So you have 3 unrelated people, the best I can tell, living in a home in violation of a town ordinance. So you've got a town council candidate and a school board candidate that are, I assume that they are aware, if they've read the charter and ordinances as they claim they have, to bring themselves up to speed on Bedford, having lived here for such a short time. They're knowingly living, or presumably knowingly living, in a home that's in violation of Bedford ordinance. And you have to wonder, is there any concern for that? Do they feel that they don't have to follow ordinances and regulations and laws like the rest of us? Or is it simply part of the Free State mantra that you really don't need to worry about laws, you don't really need to worry about regulations? Their whole goal is to repeal regulations, repeal laws, eliminate authoritative agencies like police department and other such groups that would really protect the citizens. It's concerning. They're not above the law, yet they're running for office, presumably knowing that they are not respecting ordinances that were enacted by the town of Bedford. And I would submit that they are no better than the law, and they are no better than anybody else, and frankly they should uphold the rules, regulations, ordinances, and laws that everybody else in this community has to uphold. I would also like to say that this is not just about these 2 individuals, Matt Phillips and Aaron Day. There is a Free State School Board candidate running now in Keene, as reported the other day in the Keene newspaper. This is a orchestrated attempt throughout the state to methodically infiltrate communities, take communities over, and radically change the way that the communities operate and the state of New Hampshire operates. And I think it's time that people see this, educate themselves on this, and then at the end, it's up to you to decide, is this what you want? Is this the kind of Bedford that you want? Something that's radically transformed, again, going back to their words, where government, whether it's a school board or a town council, exists at most to protect people's rights and should neither provide for people. Does that mean provide public education? Does that mean provide police, fire services, roads? Or should we just be left to whatever we want to do, we can do? We spend money how we want to spend money, follow whatever rules we want to follow, and then start to repeal and roll back, in great mass, the things which have made the town of Bedford such a great town and the state of New Hampshire a great place to live, which is why most of us have chosen to live here. Most of us have come to New Hampshire because of a way of life, not because we're part of a group that was formed outside of this state with the sole intent of infiltrating the state and taking the state over, radically transforming the state. I would submit that most of us are here because we like the way things have been going and we're happy with things. We like our bond ratings in this town. We've got excellent bond ratings on the school side, excellent bond ratings on the town side. Why? Our governments have been run pretty efficiently, and again, we can debate over expenditure levels and we can debate over whether certain things are wants or needs, but at the end of the day, the folks that have been elected to our offices over the years have done what's been in the best interest of our community, and our community has flourished as a result. You see some of the radical things that these folks want to do and what they stand for. It wouldn't take very long for this town to dramatically change, and I would submit for the worst, jeopardizing property values, jeopardizing our way of life, impacting businesses, in turn impacting potentially our credit ratings, and making Bedford a much different place than it is today, and a much different place than it's been for those of us that have lived here for a long, long time. And, you know, I think in closing, you know, I again want to emphasize folks should do their own homework. Take what I have to say and think about it. Go online, see if you can corroborate what I've said. There's a lot more that's out there that I haven't said. And then when you go to the polls in a couple of weeks, think hard, think deep when it comes to electing folks. You can do what you want on the budgets. If you like the budgets, vote for them. If you don't like the budgets, vote against them. If you like the bonds, vote for them. If you don't like the bonds, vote against them. The main thing to think about in this election, and what makes this election critical, are the people that have signed up to run for office. Those are the people that can impact, one way or another, the quality of life that we have in here. And those decisions are long-lasting decisions. Those are 3-year terms. And if you put folks in place that have an outside, anarchist, radical agenda, the ramifications for Bedford are going to be hard felt and for a long time. So I would ask you to think deeply about who you're going to vote for this election, what that person stands for, how long have they been in town, what are their real intentions, and then you make the choice that you feel comfortable with. And when you're doing so, think long and hard about the community. Bedford has been a great place. That's why many of us have come to live here, invested in the community, built businesses here, and raised families. And we would like to see that Bedford that we've come to know continue to be strong as we go forward. Again, I thank you for watching our opinion and hope that you will do your homework and be prepared to vote on an informed basis in the March elections. Thank you.